And we're back, the end of January. What a miserable shit month this has been. Fucking hell. We lost Catherine O'Hara. Fucking innocent people getting murdered in the streets by, you know, the American Gestapo, aka ICE. All the Epstein files, it's just fucking, you just see all this horrific, disgusting shit that the elites have been getting away with, and we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about some movies and TV shows. I watched some great stuff this month. Nashville, Robert Altman's Nashville. It's kind of like the epitome of Robert Altman's kind of slice of life cinema style, you know? And as I was watching it, I was like, this is one of the most American movies ever made. It's almost deconstructs the American iconography. And I was surprised watching it that like 50 years later, a lot of the things that the film touches on is relevant today still. King of the Hill, been rewatching King of the Hill. And I actually just finished it last night. Well, the original run I finished last night. I finished season 13, and then 14 is the one that just came out last year. And it was strange, actually. I rolled in from season 13 to season 14, and it's a weird jump to go from 13 seasons of, you know, Bobby being a kid to suddenly Bobby's 21, he's got his own restaurant, and Hank and Peggy are old and retired. But it's just one of the ultimate feel-good shows. It's such a beautiful, you know, it's very grounded and relatable. It's not like cartoony like The Simpsons or Family Guy or South Park or something like that. It's very, very grounded, and just incredibly sweet. Like, a lot of people talk about they'll point to Hank's catchphrase, "That boy ain't right," as like proof that it was a show, you know, of its time, that it didn't, you know, now the consensus is you need to encourage kids to be who they're going to be and not try and put them into a box of a certain type of masculinity or whatever. But that's Hank's catchphrase, but he always is very understanding of Bobby, and always, as much as he's disappointed when Bobby wants to go to clown college or he wants to bake or whatever it is that he wants to, he still is, you know, reluctantly, he's very encouraging. And there's so many episodes where like he's an amazing dad, even though he sometimes says that boy ain't right. Marty Supreme, I fucking loved this. It was, and this is another like quintessential American epic. It kind of uses this kind of like seemingly, you know, silly, frivolous world of ping pong to explore the American dream and just dreams in general. And you know, like if you flick through the Guinness World Records and you just see a bunch of people who, this is the one really specific thing they dedicated their life to and they became the best at it and got in this book, and that's who Marty Mauser is. And I loved it. But I was surprised that it is like a thriller. It is like very much in the vein of Uncut Gems or Good Time or one of these other Safdie movies, where it's almost not even really about table tennis. It's about all the hustling and shit he has to do to support himself, to be able to do table tennis as a career. He has to pull off all these scams and do all these hustles, and that's so much fun to watch. And Timothy Chalamet is amazing. But yeah, I did a review of it if you want to check that out. It's actually like the longest review video I ever did. It was like 12 and a half minutes. Normally they clock in around 5 minutes. Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home. This is actually my favorite Star Trek movie, like by a mile. Because it starts off like a typical episode of the show, and then it morphs into this kind of time-traveling, fish-out-of-water comedy, you know, planting this familiar sci-fi ensemble in the real world, in the modern day, where Kirk and the gang go back in time to like contemporary San Francisco to save some whales. And it just creates this hilarious juxtaposition of the Enterprise crew in like the regular world that we recognize. And it's like kind of like this early postmodernism kind of thing with self-aware, and it's really campy and unserious, and I just love it. And you know, but it also has a really great environmentalist message with this whole save the whales thing, and the footage of whaling that you see really hits hard, you know. So it's tough to watch. Stranger Things finale, the final episode of Stranger Things came out on New Year's Day, and you know, by this point I was kind of over the show. It was like, it was no longer The Goonies meets E.T. meets It meets Altered States. It was just Netflix's Avengers. This big, bombastic, VFX-laden fucking superhero epic. But, you know, you go on this journey with these characters for 10 years, you can't just stop at the last. So I watched the last episode. It's way too long, you know. There's the climactic sequence that you think is like the ending, and there's still an hour to go after that, you know. And they really played it safe. I mean, they've kind of been playing it safe forever, but you really thought maybe in the series finale there's going to be some risks, but it's more about setting up spin-offs than fucking being an ending. I will admit though, I did tear up during this finale. I teared up when Mike says goodbye to Eleven, and there's a load of flashbacks to season 1 when they first met and they first got together, and that kind of made me cry, but mainly because it reminded me of when I was watching those early seasons with my high school girlfriend, and so those emotions are coming into it. So I can't say it's all the filmmaking. It's it's me. And, you know, I mean, that's just a cheap trick anyway. You've got the final season's not really working, so you show a bunch of clips from season 1, which worked incredibly well, and then you kind of just, like, hijack the nostalgia for that. Ace in the Hole. This was a film noir, almost like a Western noir, because it's set in New Mexico, and it's kind of set in the world of journalism, which is a world I recognize, not the kind of world that they're in this film, where they write, it's a newspaper and they're writing real news, but, like, I know the world of deadlines and editors and assignments. And this movie has got an amazing lead performance by Kirk Douglas, as always, and it was kind of way ahead of its time, talking about, like, journalistic ethics and the kind of newstainment, you know, like, this it was almost like Nightcrawler. It was like Nightcrawler, but 60 years earlier, about the guy, the journalist who isn't just reporting facts. He is the guy who is sensationalizing it to make it more popular and make it more entertaining, and he keeps the story going, you know. And this is like, now we're like 70 something years later, and that idea of newstainment has just gotten worse and worse, and the idea of, you know, there is no journalistic integrity anymore. Everyone is Kirk Douglas. Uncut Gems. After being, like, surprised how much Marty Supreme felt like Uncut Gems, I rewatched Uncut Gems, which I haven't seen since it came out, because why would I? It's a 2-hour panic attack. It's like it really, you know, it induces this feeling of anxiety and dread, and in a really effective, really powerful way. But why would you want to put yourself through that again? But it had been long enough that I'd kind of forgotten a lot of the film, and an incredible performance by Adam Sandler. I mean, obviously he's been great in Punch Drunk Love and the Meyerowitz stories and some of these films, and, you know, what's the one about 9/11? Rain Over Me, something like that. Him and Don Cheadle. So we knew he was a great dramatic actor going into Uncut Gems, but this is like a whole nother level where he's playing this guy who just makes bad decision after bad decision. He's a gambling addict, and he's in so much debt, and even when he somehow gets a hold of enough money to pay off his debts, he doesn't take it to his creditors, he takes it to his bookie to try and double it. It's just, like, you're annoyed at him watching it because he keeps making these terrible decisions, and he's sort of digging his own grave. But you can't stop watching it. It's compulsive viewing. Big Trouble in Little China. This is John Carpenter's wonderful little action comedy. Nothing like Escape from New York or The Thing. It's, like, very, much lighter and more cartoonish than them. And Kurt Russell, it's so much fun to watch Kurt Russell in this role as Jack Burton, because he kind of subverts his usual badass action hero persona to really great comedic effect. Like, we're expecting to see Snake Plissken, and we get Frank Drebin, and Kurt Russell's great in that role. Marty Supreme. I rewatched Marty Supreme. I went with my buddy Matt, because he wanted to watch it, and I wanted to watch it again, so we went together. And he actually, like, I'm saying that the world of ping pong is really silly, and that in my review I said, like, how impressive it was that they made ping pong exciting, and that it's similar to how the Queen's Gambit made chess exciting. But Matt is a huge ping pong guy, and he was like, it's already exciting, fuck you. It's not silly at all. But yeah, it was a great second watch, and again, it's like so much like Uncut Gems, but with a more hopeful ending. King Kong. This was Peter Jackson's King Kong. I actually did an article about it for Screen Rant. This was my favorite Kong movie growing up. This is the one that made me, like, fall in love with Kong as this tragic figure. I think Peter Jackson really nailed that, where it's, because I've since gone back and watched the original, obviously, and the original's great, has its own charm, and the stop motion effects have held up really well, and it tells its story really beautifully, and this kind of, it conveys these really poignant themes of, like, nature versus civilization, and people have picked up on, like, racial overtones, but it's all in the context of this, like, 90-minute little B movie. And Peter Jackson takes modern special effects and blows that up into this 3-hour action-adventure epic, and it's incredible. It's like he takes, you know, he uses his, like, Lord of the Rings CGI, the innovations they've made there with Weather, and creates these huge battle sequences. Kong fights a T-Rex, or Jack Black and Adrian Brody, the whole boat crew, fall into this chasm where there's just ginormous insects everywhere. You know, you get these cool set pieces, but it's not like just a VFX spectacle. It's you know, Peter Jackson understands that Kong isn't a monster. He's a fool in love, basically, you know? And Ann Darrow can see that. She can see that Kong has a kind soul. She doesn't want to be his girlfriend, but she loves him in her own way, and it's kind of this, she just wants everyone else to see Kong the way she does, which is, he's a good guy. But no one else can see him as anything other than this horrific beast. Like, that's the core of the story, and Peter Jackson really, even though it's twice as long as the original, much bigger, more action-packed, he never loses sight of that emotional core, and it's really beautiful. 'Twas beauty killed the beast. It's like, no, it's fucking you guys. The beauty was keeping him alive. Network. I rewatched Network, Sidney Lumet's and Paddy Chayefsky's brilliant Network. Spot on satire of the media, even, to this day. It's still relevant today. That's another thing. Like Nashville, I was watching it thinking, like, this so holds up today. It's the story of a news anchor who is at his wit's end. He's just been fired, and he tells his audience, I'm going to kill myself live on air. And he becomes this huge rating success, and the network executives capitalize on that. And they basically capitalize on his mental illness to keep the ratings coming in and give him his own show and where he can just rant. And, we don't really have that kind of everyone sits down and watches the same news program every night anymore. But in today's world, that would be influencers and streamers going to really extreme lengths for views and likes. And, it wouldn't be a TV network going after ratings, but it's the same sort of thing. It's this corruptibility of media where it's like, if you can get eyeballs on something, you can make money. And everyone's trying to do that. So you got to go more extreme. And it's amazing performances. Obviously, Peter Finch as Howard Beale is iconic, but there's like Faye Dunaway's amazing in it, and William Holden. Accepted. This is a little, college movie about these kids who, a bunch of kids who've been rejected from their colleges, but they don't want to let down their parents. They like create their own college to go to. And this was one of me and my sister's childhood favorites. And we used to love it. And it's got Justin Long and Jonah Hill, Blake Lively. And it's rewatching it now because it popped up on Netflix. So I watched it again. It's not a great movie. But it has a great cast and it has a lot of charm. And it's very 2000s. Like the technology and the soundtrack, it just screams 2000s. But it is this cool little underdog story. Train Dreams. Finally got around to watching Train Dreams on Netflix. And I couldn't be happier that it's gotten a Best Picture nomination. It should have gotten more nominations. It should have, especially, Joel Edgerton and William... Fucking hell. Joel Edgerton and William H. Macy should have gotten acting nominations, but it's such a stacked year. I don't know who you would have replaced in the categories to make room for them, but they were amazing. And it's just this great kind of somber historical character study, a bit like it reminded me a lot of The Brutalist. It even has the same actress playing the wife, Felicity Jones. But in Train Dreams, the protagonist is a much better guy. He just wants to be home with his wife and kid, but he has to keep working away, and it's heartbreaking. I mean, it's a depressing fucking movie, but beautifully made. And I love the ambiguity with the dreams woven in and out. You're not really sure how much is real. A lot of it's up to interpretation, but in a really good way, not in like a frustrating way, in like a really poignant, really, really great way. All About Eve. This is the quintessential Hollywood story about, the ruthless pursuit of stardom. And I'd never seen it. I've seen it parodied on every sitcom ever made. So there was really no surprises when I watched the actual film. But the movie was good, but I really loved the ending. It was great book ending with the budding stars holding an award. It felt almost kind of prescient, like Network, where it's these ideas of fame and success and the media have only just gotten more and more prevalent in the decades and decades since these films came out. Fallout. Been watching Fallout Season 2 on Amazon. I haven't seen the finale yet. They sent me a screener for it the night before I'm recording this, but I haven't got around to watching it yet. But I'm loving it. I'm loving, the post-apocalyptic action, like on the streets of New Vegas. It's almost like Army of the Dead, except done right, and the cast are wonderful. I've been loving this dynamic of Lucy and the Ghoul on like a road trip together, almost like Midnight Run. It's a ton of fun. And now I've actually played some of the games. I hadn't played the games when I watched Season 1, and now I've played them a bit, so I kind of recognize things. Like the Death Claws, I was like, I fucking remember you. Lisa Frankenstein. I was so excited for this when it came out a couple of years ago, and they were showing the trailer at my local cinema, and then they never put the film on, so I never got around to watching it, but it just popped up on Netflix, and I enjoyed it so much. It's, it's a really great kind of like campy throwback horror movie, like Jennifer's Body. Oh, it's kind of like a mashup of Tim Burton, Heathers, a bit of John Waters. I mean, I love Catherine Newton. I don't think I've ever seen her in anything I didn't love her in, because she seems like a normal person, but the projects she chooses, she's like seems to be a total weirdo with the movies she chooses, and I'm here for it. Jawbreaker. I'd never heard of this, but it popped up on Netflix. It's about a bunch of girls in high school who kill their friend by accident, and they have to cover it up. And there's another one that reminded me of Heathers. It was kind of like a dark high school comedy, and it was a lot of fun. Friendship. I rewatched Friendship with Paul Rudd and Tim Robinson. I loved that last summer when it came out. Me and my dad went to watch it, and it just brought the house down. And it was kind of like, it's this really funny, really surreal, cringe comedy, and it was still fun watching it at home because it popped up on Paramount Plus, I think. But it was great with an audience, because I don't know if it was my particular audience, because the kind of film you go and watch in the cinema and you're laughing and no one else is. But this was even in the weirdest, cringiest moments, there was huge laughs, and it was so much fun. Bruce Almighty. I used to love this movie as a kid. I rewatched it again, and it's this crazy Jim Carrey carry comedy, and it's got some very, very 2000s humor, where like one of the first things he does is blow up a woman's skirt when he gets God's powers. That's the first thing he does. And the technology, like when he converts all the prayers into emails, it's on like the janky, primitive Windows XP Yahoo email account. But it's really funny, but it's also a genuinely solid kind of morality tale. It's like Frank Capra-esque, almost like It's a Wonderful Life meets, oh God, Hamnet. Now, I really liked Hamnet, and I think, Jessie Buckley is probably going to win Best Actress, and she's going to absolutely deserve it, and it's a brilliantly made film, but I wasn't blown away by it the way I was with some of these other Best Picture contenders, with Train Dreams or with Marty Supreme or One Battle After Another. I mean, you get exactly what you're expecting, The first hour makes you love this little kid, and then the second hour makes you grieve his untimely loss. But, it's really brought to life with really powerful performances. It's very moving, it's very well made. Chloe Zhao's a great director. And maybe me preferring Marty Supreme or preferring One Battle After Another, maybe that's just my personal taste. But it's a great film, but at the end of it, I wasn't like, holy fucking shit, that was incredible. But I was with Train Dreams, I was with Marty Supreme, I was with, what are some of the other ones? Sentimental Value, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I'd seen this before, but years ago, so I'd forgotten everything besides the most iconic moments. So I rewatched it, and it's like a quintessential sci-fi movie. It's like Spielberg's 2001, It really captures like what it might actually be like to make First Contact, but in the framework of this Watergate era, man who knew too much government conspiracy thriller. It's really fantastic. And it's got that beautiful moment, like so many of Spielberg's films, like this or E.T., are about like the innocence of childhood. There's a moment in Close Encounters that absolutely encapsulates that, where the little kid, they see the big orange glow light of the UFO outside, and the mom, who's, an adult and jaded and wary of the world, it cowers away from it, but the kid, who is just curious and young and innocent and naive, walks towards it. And that moment kind of encapsulates Spielberg's whole cinematic thesis, Birdman. I remember watching Birdman in cinemas with a bunch of my friends, and we were like 15 and on a steady diet of Transformers movies, and none of my friends, or one of my friends liked it, but most of them were like, what the fuck is this? But I loved it then, and I love it now. I can't believe it won Best Picture and not Best Actor, because Michael Keaton is this movie. You've got an amazing supporting cast around him with Edward Norton and Emma Stone and Naomi Watts and Andrea Riseborough, but he makes this movie, and fuck, what's his name? Eddie Redmayne. I believe he's the one who won over Michael Keaton. He won for playing Stephen Hawking. But fuck him. Michael Keaton should have won. The sequence where he gets stuck outside the theater in his tighty whities and he has to walk through a very crowded Times Square to get back to the theater is fucking iconic. The piano accident. This is popped up on Mubi. It was a movie from last year, a very small little just comedy. I thought it was great. I mean, I don't think it was very well received last year, or it didn't get much fanfare. But I thought it was this crazy satire of like fame and social media stunts and gotcha journalism, where it's about this influencer who can't feel pain, so she does these extreme, almost like what Network would be about today, where she's to get views, she's like drops a washing machine on her knees or something, and then because she can't feel it, and her audience loves it. And then there's an incident with a piano, which I won't spoil, hence the title. And she goes away to kind of hide away for a bit, and she starts getting blackmailed by this journalist, and it gets really, really dark, but in a really intriguing, funny way. I really enjoyed it. Legion. I've been watching Legion. I'm kind of working my way through in dribs and drabs. I've finished season 1, and then I'm maybe taking a break, maybe not gonna finish it at all, because I've been confused for most of the series. But that's like, you're confused by design. They want you to be confused, and it's a visual feast. But I don't know how much mental energy I have for a TV show that deliberately alienates you like that, So we'll see if I continue. But it's a great show. I'd rather watch King of the Hill. The Tall T. I'm doing a video about this, but it ballooned. It was going to be a little video, and it ballooned into a huge video, so it's going to take a couple of weeks. But it's this old classic Western. I had heard in an interview with Patton Oswalt that it has this gay subtext, that it's like this, it's dressed up as this typical Western, but it's this love story between two men. And I thought, he's got to be exaggerating this. Like, he must be really reaching to find this subtext, but fucking hell, it's literally like watching a rom-com. It's dressed up in cowboy outfits and, horses, but the tension between Randolph Scott and Richard Boone is so fizzlingly romantic, and so there's such like sexual tension between them. So yeah, I had a field day writing about that homoerotic subtext, but that's for another video. Zombieland. I rewatched Zombieland, and it's just, first of all, a fantastic cast where you got Jesse Eisenberg, Woody Harrelson, Emma Stone, and Abigail Breslin, which is just a murderer's row, and they all have great chemistry, and you know, they kind of break off in pairs and things, and it all works. And this is kind of like an American Shaun of the Dead. It's Shaun of the Dead for the Resident Evil, World War Z era of big budget Hollywood zombie movies, where it's not the Romero, it's not like hole up in one location, it's the road trip across a post-apocalyptic wasteland kind of thing, and it's a fucking ton of fun. The Sure Thing, there's another one I wrote an article about. It was Rob Reiner's second movie after Spinal Tap and before Stand By Me. I don't think I'd ever even heard of it until he passed away, but it's part of his run of movies. From Spinal Tap to A Few Good Men, he made 7 of the greatest films ever made, back to back, and most of them you've heard of. You've heard of Misery and the Princess Bride and When Harry Met Sally and these classics. And The Sure Thing doesn't get enough fanfare because it's as great as those movies, but it's not as classic. But it's almost like a modern day It Happened One Night. Like, the premise of it sounds like one of these 80s sex comedies that hasn't aged well, like Revenge of the Nerds or Porky's or something like that. But that's just the conceit. Like, it's the sure thing of the title is this woman who John Cusack's friend has told him, if you can get out to my college in California, this woman will have sex with you. He's almost like a pimp, this character played by Anthony Edwards. And then John Cusack is hitching a ride to California, and he bumps into Daphne Zuniga from Spaceballs. She's also getting a ride to California. She's going out to see her boyfriend, and they hate each other. They've met and they have classes together, and they don't get along at all. And you can see where this is going. They're on the road to California. Eventually, they get kicked out of the car they're in because they're making too much trouble, and so they have to like hitchhike the rest of the way. And it's kind of planes, trains, and automobiles kind of wacky road trip. And over the course of that journey, they fall in love, and you can see it coming a mile away that that's going to happen. But the formula works because, especially because John Cusack and Daphne Zuniga are so well matched, you know, that's really what you need. You just need 2 actors with great chemistry, you know? Like How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days isn't a good movie. The plot's ridiculous, it's contrived, but Matthew McConaughey and Kate Hudson have such incredible chemistry that it works, you know? And it's a funny movie, and those actors are really funny, but you get swept up in their love story too. It's wonderful. Booksmart, I rewatched Booksmart, one of my all-time favorite comedies. My first ever video was about Don't Worry Darling, but it was all about how much of a step down that was from Olivia Wilde's first film. Caitlin Dever and Beanie Feldstein are just perfectly matched as best friends, and it's just as kind of heartfelt and emotional as it is hilarious. It's a hilarious comedy, but it makes you feel as well. And Billy Lord is in it, steals every scene. Skylar Gisondo from Superman and Vacation, delightful. Yeah, it's so good. Adventureland. I was in the mood to watch another movie with land in the title, starring Jesse Eisenberg. And I'd forgotten all about this. I watched it, years and years ago when it first came to TV, probably 15 years ago. And probably then I was too young to grasp what it's reckoning with, the kind of the nuances of a relationship and things like that. But it's a great little coming-of-age movie. Great cast. It's got, like, Ryan Reynolds and Bill Hader and Kristen Wiig in like, supporting roles, but now they're huge stars. And it doesn't rely on cliches. So many films like this are so cliched, but this doesn't rely on cliches, and I really like Jesse Eisenberg's chemistry with Kristen Stewart. I think they have a really good dynamic. Sentimental Value. There's another one I did a video of, so you can check that out, but it's so great. It's so just beautifully acted, especially. An interesting look at how an artist kind of puts their personal life into their art and how that can affect their personal life, and if they've turned people into characters, how do those people feel? And almost kind of like Deconstructing Harry, but much more dramatic, whereas that was like a dark comedy. This one's more, and it's funny, but it's just really incredible. The actors are so incredible at making you feel like there's a real people. It's a real family. It's a real father and 2 daughters. And Stellan Skarsgård is coming for that Best Supporting Actor Oscar. I thought that would definitely go to one battle after another guys. That would go to Sean Penn or Benicio, but Stellan's got it in the bag, I think. The Mandalorian. I rewatched. I haven't seen season 3 because that one was a bit disappointing. But the movie's coming soon, so I'll go back and refresh myself on the show. Seasons 1 and 2 of The Mandalorian were like some of my favorite television ever. I was obsessed with it then, and that episode with Luke Skywalker would be the perfect finale of the whole show. But I wanted more, and Disney selfishly, greedily wanted more too, because they were like, well shit, we've got this Baby Yoda thing, we're not just gonna retire him now, fucking get him back out there. So they brought them back together in a whole nother show, and then you watch season 3 of Mando. If I had gone straight from season 2 of Mando to season 3 of Mando, it would be like, what, hang on, did I miss a season? Because half their story happens in the Book of Boba Fett. But I'm looking forward to the movie. I think hopefully that'll be fun. The Worst Person in the World. After watching Sentimental Value, I wanted to see some of Joachim Trier's other other work, which I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, and also, I don't think I'd ever seen any of his other films, or if I had, I'd forgotten about them. But there's another great performance by Renate Reinsve. Another pronunciation I hope I've got right. You know, it's this kind of snapshot of this woman's life, and she's not the worst person in the world. She does some bad things, but who doesn't, you know? And, but there's this scene where her ex-boyfriend is kind of dying of cancer, or some sort of terminal illness. There's this scene where they're talking, and he's being told, like, because I think he's a photographer or he's something or other, and he's being told, like, you know, your art will live on. And he has this really, really vulnerable moment where he tells her, I don't want to live on through my art. I want to live in my flat, you know? And that really hit hard. Like, I cried my fucking eyes out when he said that, because his fear of death really got to me. And, like, that just encapsulates it, that it's like, yeah, the photos will still exist when he's gone, but he wants to live his life. He wants to be around the people he loves, and it fucking really hit home. Okay. Fucking hell. Jesus. The Matrix Reloaded. I know the first Matrix like the back of my hand. I watched that one a million times, and to this day I go back and rewatch them all the time. But I haven't seen the sequels in years. I used to watch all three. There's 4 now, but when I was a kid there was only 3. I'd watched just sort of cycle through all 3 of them, and now I only really go back to the first one. So I rewatched Matrix Reloaded, thinking maybe it was a hidden gem, and it just reminded me why I don't revisit them much. They're not very good. And it's got some great sequences, some great action sequences. The freeway chase is awesome. It just makes me angry when I see the architect. When I get to that scene and he's babbling on with bullshit, I'm just like, fuck this. Fuck this. I'm not getting this 2.5 hours of my life back. 28 years later, The Bone Temple. This was fucking amazing, and I don't know why more people aren't watching it, because it's less a zombie movie and more like half of it is like a funny game psychological thriller with this gang of Jimmy Saviles torturing people for fun. And the other half is this weird little kind of buddy story with Ralph Fiennes as the doctor trying to tame the alpha, and he's trying to figure out, like, he starts to like bring back some of his humanity with this various concoction of medicines, and it's just this beautiful love story between these two guys, this guy and this zombie, and it culminates in just an absolutely incredible climax. I don't want to spoil anything that happens, but fucking hell, that's pure cinema, that final sequence. Like, you'll be sitting in the cinema going, what the hell am I watching? And if you wait to watch it at home, it'll either be spoiled for you, or it just won't be as good on a small screen, you know? So if you've been on the fence about it and it's still showing near you, give this a go. It's fucking great. Fight Club. I rewatched Fight Club, and I'm of the age that when I was a kid, me and my friends all thought that Fight Club was the greatest movie ever made. And then I went through a phase of thinking I'd overblown it, and it's not that great, you know? And then now I'm in this middle ground of it's not the greatest film ever made, but it is a great fucking movie. It's so much fun, and Edward Norton's performance and the voiceovers and just his dark sense of humor kind of carries the whole thing. And Brad Pitt's so charming as Tyler Durden, and it's just like David Fincher at his craziest, you know? The Avengers. I rewatched the first Avengers, and I hate to say it because he's not a good person, but Joss Whedon is a great writer-director, especially for a film like this. Because at the time, it was unclear if this crazy experiment would work, you know? All these characters in the same movie, the Norse god and the World War II super soldier and the rich guy in the metal suit and the big green, you know, it's like, how'd you make all them? How's that your cast? How are they all in? And now it seems crazy because they're all in every film. But at the time, there'd only been like films where there's one superhero. But Joss Whedon brings them all together, creates these really interesting dynamics where, like, you know, Tony Stark and Steve Rogers have this kind of like button heads thing, but this kind of begrudging mutual respect by the end of it. And Cap and Thor have this bond of they're both the old guys and they've both seen plenty of battles, and like this film so easily could have gone wrong, and it came out so right, you know? She wore a yellow ribbon. It's an old John Wayne Western. And it's like, it's pretty typical John Wayne Western. But John Ford really knew how to shoot exciting action, even when the form of action filmmaking was in its infancy. In many ways, the Westerns are the original action movies. And John Ford is like the original action director. even Kurosawa was getting influence from John Ford. And you can see why. You watch She Wore a Yellow Ribbon and the chase sequences and things. It's thrilling. They're 100 years old, the films, but the action's just as exciting today. The Rip. I did a little capsule review of this. I just split it into 2 parts because fucking YouTube was getting weird with copyright material if it's over a minute, but if it's under a minute, it was ridiculous rules. this is a great little crime thriller, you know. Ben and Matt are always a joy to watch, and there's lots of twists and turns, and some of them are predictable, some of them aren't. And it's got this interesting, almost Hitchcockian setup of cops counting money at a cartel stash house, because they can't, I think it's a real rule, they can't leave, because someone could just, if they find a huge thing of $20 million in a stash house, if one of them decided to just skim 20 grand off the top, no one would be the wiser. So they have to all stay there, watch each other count it, and figure out exactly how much money's there. But they're getting calls being like, you need to get the fuck out of that house or we're gonna kill you. And it's like, well, we can't, we're not allowed to leave. So it's this really interesting kind of boiling pot, or pot boiler, what do you call it? And there's, you know, allegiances are tested, and it's obviously Ben Affleck and Matt Damon always have fantastic chemistry, but Stephen Yeun is in it and he's great, and Teyana Taylor and Kyle Chandler, some wonderful actors. Yeah, it's a great little thriller. It's not, you know, it's not a groundbreaking masterpiece or anything, but it's a solid Netflix watch. Twin Peaks. I've been meaning to rewatch Twin Peaks for years, but my first viewing of it when I was a kid was such an important part of my childhood, like a core memory, that I was worried like a second viewing wouldn't live up to it. But it is. I've been rewatching it and it fucking holds up. It's I'm in the middle of season 2 now, and I could watch Dale Cooper leave messages on his tape recorder for Diane for hours and hours. I just love Kyle MacLachlan in that role, and the Lynchian weirdness and the combination of, like, if you removed all the supernatural elements, it would still be a compelling little small town soap opera with these colorful characters. But you insert the supernatural elements, you had the Black Lodge and the Red Room and the giant from another place or whatever he's called, and suddenly it's a lot more interesting than a typical soap opera because there's ghosts and demons and things. It's one of the greatest TV shows ever made. Still holds up. Still feels just as radical today as it would have done then. No Other Choice. This was Park Chan-wook's film that completely got snubbed for the Oscars. Not even best international feature. But it's a really, really funny satire of capitalism and the rat race, and how the guys at the top keep the guys at the bottom fighting against each other so they don't turn on them. And it brought the house down. I was watching it in a crowded cinema because it was like a preview screening and a lot of film fans came out. And huge laughs, you know? And it was deserved. It's a really funny film. I did a video about that one as well if you want to check it out. Star Wars Skeleton Crew. I wrote like a recommendation piece for this because still not enough people have seen it, and it's so wonderful. And I kind of talked myself into rewatching it, and it's like just Star Wars Goonies. It's these kids on a crazy pirate adventure, and the kids are so wonderful. It's such a wonderful cast of young actors, and I want to see them again. I want to see season 2, or I want to see them do a movie or something, because I fucking love those characters. Those are some of my favorite Star Wars characters now. Kim Possible. I'd seen bits and pieces of Kim Possible over the years, but I'd never sat down and watched it. But I'm sitting down and binging the whole thing, and it's so much fun. It's lovable characters. I love this relationship of Kim and her friend Ron, and you know, the dialogue's really witty, and you get this revolving door of villains, and it's a really clever take on Bond movie tropes, and it's like this perfect mix of the escapist genre stuff and the relatable coming of age stuff. Like every episode has a storyline of Kim going after some villain or foiling some plot to destroy the world, and she also has something going on at high school, and you know, obviously the spy stuff is really fun, but the high school stuff is relatable, and it's like this interesting mix, kind of best of both worlds. A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. I've been fucking loving this so much. I've been doing a video about it, but I'm like halfway through making it, so I don't know when I'll have it out, or if it'll be before or after this, but this is the most I've ever enjoyed Game of Thrones. Like, I've been following Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon week to week forever, and I always enjoyed them, but The Night of the Seven Kingdoms is the most excited I've been watching a new episode, because I think Sir Duncan the Tall might be the most I've ever related to a character in the Game of Thrones universe, because I'm freakishly tall and painfully awkward, and I love his relationship with Egg, this kind of weird like lone wolf and cub, but it's not even like a parent-child thing, it's almost like a big brother little brother thing, and Egg is just so he's supposed to be his like loyal squire, but he's just so cheeky and talks back to him, and it's so much fun, and Peter Claffey and Dexter Saul Ansel, such wonderful actors and have such wonderful chemistry, and I'm the only thing I'm disappointed with is it's going to be over in 6 episodes. I would watch a 30 episode season of this. 28 years later, The Bone Temple. I watched it again. I went back and watched it the second time with my sister, and she enjoyed it just as much as me. She was blown away by that finale just as much as I was. Nia DaCosta did a fantastic job directing it, and the acting is incredible. There's Jack O'Connell as fucking Jimmy is just, Sir Lord Jimmy Crystal is like weirdly charming, but also kind of terrifying, and he's just so good in that role. And Ralph Fiennes is so great at playing this like empathy, how he's the one guy in the world who like is still curious and about people and still likes talking to people and likes being around people. And Alfie Williams as Spike was great again, as great as he was in the last film, and really sells the fear of being this new member of the Jimmies and being like, fuck, I shouldn't have gotten involved with these guys. And Erin Kellyman, who's kind of the Jimmy who takes him under her wing, and I'm really excited to see where this trilogy goes. Fingers crossed it actually happens, because this fun's fucking bombing at the box office. But hopefully it'll make back enough money on VOD and shit like that it'll be financially viable to do part 3. Nouvelle Vague. I absolutely loved this. It was so much fun. I didn't know what to expect going into it, and it was kind of like, do we even need this? Do we need a film about the making of Breathless? Especially from an American director. But I love Richard Linklater. I had faith in him. It's just a great, it's sort of, the framework of it is about Godard making, he's a film critic, he wants to direct, and he makes Breathless, and rewrites the rulebook. Linklater directs it as one of his ensemble hangout comedies. He directs it as Dazed and Confused, but instead of the guys being Matthew McConaughey and Ben Affleck and Mitch Kramer, and it's Godard and Chabrol and Truffaut and Varda, It's like Dazed and Confused for the French New Wave. And that sounds insane, but it's just such a fun film. 5 Graves to Cairo. This is a great little war film. Kind of like it's like this tense kind of spy thriller about, mistaken identity and stolen identity, and, trying to peep different sides of the war, trying to deceive each other. And it's got I think it was Eric von Stroheim played Rommel, and it's the best Rommel I've ever seen. The best Rommel performance I've ever seen. It's like a perfect war film. Heated Rivalry. I absolutely fucking loved this. I love this show so much, because my sister had watched an episode of it with her friends, and she didn't know what to expect, but she said it was really great. She said it was like really good drama. It's not just like steamy, sexy romance. And I kind of wanted to see what all the fuss was about. Like, this is one of the biggest shows in the world right now. So I stuck it on. I ended up watching the whole thing in one night. I watched it all in one go, because it's so wonderful. It's so compelling. Because it's like, there's been a lot of talk about the sex scenes and how steamy it is, but it's just romantic as well. Like, there is a lot of sex in it, but it's not just for the sake of it. It actually like conveys where the characters are in their relationship physically. I just got swept up in the romance of it, and it's so beautiful and beautifully acted by Hudson Williams and Connor Story. I can't wait to see where it goes next in season 2. It's one of those seasons where it could be a satisfying ending, but they leave the door open for more, and they're obviously going to do more because it's been a huge hit. But yeah, I'm a straight guy, and I don't like hockey, so I'm not necessarily the target demographic, but I thought it was a fantastic love story. And I loved, there's like a B-plot love story that's not Shane and Ilya, the main guys. It's Scott and Kip, this other hockey player who falls in love with a smoothie barista. And I like their story even more. I loved Shane and Ilya, but fucking Scott and Kip with I think it was episode 3 was like their standalone rom-com. And that's it's a lot more, the Shane and Ilya story is more, I think, realistic and more nuanced and complicated to the nuances of a closeted relationship and how that develops. Whereas with Scott and Kip, it is much more of a traditional rom-com. But I loved it. I fucking loved it. There's a moment where he, well, I won't spoil it, but there's a moment with some socks that made me cry my eyes out. And it's a little thing, but it's a callback to an old, it's the most amazing payoff to that episode, and it's heartbreaking, and it was a fantastic show. I can't say enough good things about it. Is this thing on? This one finally came to UK cinemas. The John Bishop story, as told by Will Arnett and Bradley Cooper. It's a delightful little film. Like, it's definitely an Americanization of the John Bishop story, and a lot of audiences in my English cinema was saying that as a negative thing, but I think it was great. It was just using John Bishop's story as a jumping off point. It's not a biopic of him. It's the story of a guy who is separated from his wife and starts doing stand-up, and that's something he can look forward to and something he can hang his hat on, and he rejuvenates his life. And it's just a delightful film. Nice. It's a nice mix of funny and sad, but it ultimately feel good no matter how sad it gets. And amazing performances by Will Arnett and Laura Dern as this couple going through a rough patch. And Bradley Cooper steals every scene he's in as Will Arnett's kind of bumbling stoner friend. And I think his greatest weakness as a director is being a camera hog. And like Maestro was the worst case scenario of that, but this is the best case. This is like he's a supporting role as comic relief, but it's still Will Arnett's movie, but Bradley Cooper can come in and steal the scenes. That's kind of the point of comic relief. He's really funny in it. And there's a whole sequence. This is part of the true John Bishop story. This isn't really a spoiler, but potentially a spoiler. When Will Arnett's character has been going to all these open mics, and he's been kind of getting a bit of a reputation on the New York stand-up scene, and he's finally offered his first paid spot at the Comedy Cellar. And so as we see him going up to do his pay, but he hasn't told anyone. He hasn't told anyone in his life that he's doing stand-up. It's like his little secret. And so we see him going up for his first paid spot, and we know that's a payoff of like months of hard work. And then by pure coincidence, Laura Dern, as his wife, is on a date, and they decide to stop in and watch some comedy. And that whole sequence was amazing. It was pure cinema. I was like on the edge of my seat. It's playing around with your perspective. Like, we've seen his stand-up career grow, but she's has no idea any of this has happened. This is just, all she's seeing is this refined, popular stand-up act about her own most personal moments with absolutely no context, and it's her ex-husband. It was so good. I was like, I felt a little flutter in my heart when she and her date walked into that comedy club, and these two storylines finally coalesce, and his secret alter ego is revealed. It was fucking, like, that's what movie making is all about. And there's a couple of little kind of non-verbal acting moments that really touched me, and they're both kind of similar as well. Like, there's a bit where Will Arnett's doing the laundry, and he's going through his kids' little socks in the wash, and he just kind of like breaks down because it's like, shit, the family's broken apart. And Laura Dern has a similar moment. She's in the shower at Will Arnett's apartment, and she finds the kids' little light up toothbrushes in the bathroom. And in both those moments, they both go through this heart-wrenching feeling that they're breaking up the family, and you can see it really destroys them, and that they feel guilt about it. And I find it interesting that all three of Bradley Cooper's films now as director have been about performance. They've been about performers and how their entertainment career impacts their personal life and vice versa. But they've all been very different from each other, different tones and different visual approaches and different types of entertainer. But yeah, this was a great little movie. Primate. This was a fucking ton of fun. It is like the movie you're expecting it to be. It's a movie about an ape who gets rabies and starts killing people. And it's just that for like a nice tight 80 minutes. It maintains this breakneck pace. You're on the edge of your seat the whole time. The gore is sometimes a bit too extreme, and I can handle a lot of gore. I enjoyed Ichi the Killer, so I'm a gore guy. But fucking hell, this couple of moments in Primate that make you squirm, but in a good way, in like a, not in like a gratuitous way, but in like a just enough to be really effective way. Best in Show. I rewatched Christopher Guest's Best in Show after the untimely passing of Catherine O'Hara, the brilliant Catherine O'Hara, because I wanted to see just one of her funniest roles. I just wanted to see her be hilarious, and Best in Show provides exactly that. It's her and Eugene Levy as this married couple, and she has this long sexual history that he doesn't know about, and they're on this road trip to the dog show, and she keeps bumping into these ex-lovers, and he's driving him crazy. It's such a fucking funny dynamic. This is such a wonderful film because it's like hilarious, and the improv is really funny. Obviously the dialogue's really funny, as with any Christopher Guest film, and the scenarios and things, but there's dogs in like every frame. So like, even if you weren't enjoying the film, even if you were bored by the dialogue, you can just watch the dogs do their thing. Good Will Hunting. I rewatched Good Will Hunting because the rip was like, reminded me of the power of Ben and Matt, the power of their relationship. And this was what put them on the map. This was their movie. They wrote it, and they won an Oscar for writing it, and it's so beautiful. It's because I mean, obviously their friendship shines through, but the relationship that makes the movie is Matt Damon and Robin Williams. And there's so many powerful scenes in it. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. And he breaks down crying in his arms. It's so beautiful. Or the scene, any moment where Robin Williams talks about his late wife is so touching. This is a really sweet film. Popeye. I watched so Robin Williams from Good Will Hunting and Robert Altman from Nashville, it came together in the 80s to make a live-action Popeye movie. And it's really weird to see Robert Altman's kind of hyper-realistic, naturalistic style with long lenses and overlapping dialogue applied to this wacky family film based on a cartoon. It doesn't really gel to take a realistic approach to Popeye. And he's got these humongous biceps. Or what's your forearm called? What's that muscle called? This huge bulging prosthetic forearms. Like it just doesn't quite gel to make Popeye as realistic as Nashville or McCabe and Mrs. It's literally McCabe and Mrs. Miller, but it's like a seaside town instead of a brothel town in the mud. But I still had a lot of fun with the movie. It's got some great musical numbers. Not really directed as music, it's not like watching Spielberg's West Side Story, or it's more straightforward execution, but the songs are really catchy. And I loved Robin Williams as Popeye. He seems to have a ton of fun with that. And Shelley Duvall as Olive Oyl, I think, stole the show. She's delightful. I mean, I just love watching her in anything. She's wonderful. But she was a great foil for Robin Williams as Olive Oyl. Kill Boksoon. There's a movie on Netflix about an assassin. She's like, half of it is that she's a professional assassin who goes and kills people and stages murder-suicides. And the other half is she's got a daughter who's going through a rough time in high school and she wants to make sure she's okay. And it's this interesting mix of motherhood and killerhood. It's got some great action sequences, some really gruesome, brutal action sequences, but the mother-daughter story gives it this core of emotion and a heart, you know. So yeah, it's everything I watched in January. There's been some great stuff in cinemas, obviously, because it's Oscar season. So you got Marty Supreme and Hamnet and Sentimental Value, and even the ones that were awards contenders and didn't get any nominations, where there's no other choice, or Nouvelle Vague. And it's been a weirdly great month for horror, because usually January is a terrible month for horror, but this month we've had The Bone Temple, which was fucking awesome, and Primate, which was a great little creature feature. So not a bad month. No, not a bad month for films and TV shows. It's been a bad month for humanity, but we must soldier on. So I'll speak to you at the end of February. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you liked the video. Remember to like and subscribe and click on the little bell. And also seize the day and call your mom and be kind to yourself.